Welcome back. If you look into American true crime history, Ed Gein, the grave robber, the butcher of Plainfield, he's always there. But today we're trying to cut through some of that mythology, to answer one specific question. Did Ed Gein actually have a girlfriend? There was this one newspaper claim, wasn't there? Yeah. About a 20-year romance.
Exactly. And that headline, that sensational claim, that's really what we need to unpack here. Because when you look at the sources, the consensus is pretty overwhelming. A conventional relationship. For Gein, it just seems psychologically impossible. We really have to look past any idea of romance and get straight to the root of his complete mental breakdown. To really grasp why Gein couldn't form normal bonds, you absolutely have to start with his mother, Augusta. She basically built his entire warped reality. She was a fanatically religious Lutheran, and she hammered into him and his brother this idea that all women, literally all women except her, were basically tools of the devil, promiscuous, dangerous.
Like to tempt men, right? That's what the sources say. It created this terrible conflict for him.
A crippling psychosexual conflict, precisely. And she didn't just preach it, she enforced it. Extreme isolation. She demanded they remain virgins. There's that chilling detail you mentioned from the sources about her calling his genitals the curse of man.
Yeah, that detail is wow. It's hard to read that and not see the direct line to his later actions. So how did that translate after she died?
Well, it set up this really intense, all-consuming Oedipus complex. When Augusta died in 1945, his world just collapsed. And his crimes, later robbing graves of middle-aged women who looked like her. And then the most horrific part, crafting that woman's suit. These weren't random acts. They were, well, deeply psychotic attempts to literally replace Augusta or even to become her.
Right. So the schizophrenia diagnosis they gave him later just confirms it. He wasn't looking for a girlfriend or a partner. He was hunting for his mother, essentially. A replacement matriarch to fill that enormous void she left.
Exactly. He needed her, not a her.
Okay, so if romance was just fundamentally off the table for him psychologically, where did this rumor even start? It seems to trace back to one person, Adeline Watkins. She's the only one who claimed this right after his arrest in 1957.
That's the one, Adeline Watkins. And her initial story, it was pure tabloid fodder, shock value dialed up to 11. She claimed, get this, a nearly 20-year relationship with Gein. Described him as good and sweet and kind. Even said he proposed marriage a couple of years before the arrest.
So she painted this picture of the secret lover, the one person who knew the real Ed Gein behind the monster.
Precisely, the hidden human side.
But that story didn't last long at all, did it?
Oh, it evaporated. Quickly. Just 2 weeks later, completely overwhelmed by the media storm, she contacted a different newspaper. And she walked it all back.
So the 20-year romance, what did it become?
It suddenly became this intermittent, totally platonic acquaintance. And she said it only lasted about 7 months, starting sometime after 1954, not 20 years.
7 months versus 20 years. That's quite a shift.
A massive shift. And here's the absolute nail in the coffin for the romance story. She explicitly told that second newspaper she had never been inside the Gein farmhouse. Ever.
Never even inside the house. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the initial story just implodes. It sounds like someone maybe caught up in the media frenzy, saying something sensational, and then realizing they couldn't back it up.
Exactly. It makes her an incredibly unreliable source for that initial dramatic claim. But the most definitive proof, really, that this relationship was pure fiction, it's Ed Gein himself. His silence. Think about it. During hours and hours of interrogations, he talked about everything. The grave robbing, the murders, his mother, his obsessions, gruesome detail. But the name, Adeline Watkins,
never came up.
Never. Not once. She simply didn't exist in his psychological landscape.
And yet, this idea persists, doesn't it? This vacuum where a relationship should be in a normal narrative. Gets held. We see it in pop culture. Like that recent Netflix series, right? They didn't just include her. They made her into this accomplice, even a killer herself, which is completely fabricated.
That's a perfect example. Storytellers, especially in fiction, they often need conventional motives. Love, jealousy, partnership, things an audience can relate to. But the actual truth of Gein, it's just solitary horror, driven solely by his mother's ghost and this profound psychosis. That's not relatable. It's dramatically very difficult to work with. It's almost inert.
So at the end of the day, this whole Ed Gein's girlfriend story, it's really just a strange footnote. It tells us way more about our own need for narratives, maybe the media's need back then, than it does about Gein's actual, incredibly isolated life.
Precisely. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often is history, especially true crime history, subtly shaped or even completely changed by these kinds of sensational flash-in-the-pan claims? Claims that get reported once, maybe get quietly retracted later, but the initial shock sticks. How many other stories that we think we know are built on sand like that? Something for you to think about next time you come across one of those really bizarre headline-grabbing details.